Welcome to the New England Endurance Podcast. I'm your host, Art Trapotsis, along with my co-host, Eric Schenker, who just qualified for Boston.
I don't know if I qualified yet, but I think the time was about almost 8.5 minutes under my qualifying time. So that should be enough, because I think this year was 5 or 6 minutes under the qualifying time that you had.
What was your qualifying time for your age group, and what event was this?
3:20. So I had to run a 3:25. So I did the Revel White Mountain Marathon, which there's a lot of people probably laughing about that if they know. And there's another great podcast called Between Two Pines, which is an ultra runner podcast I listen to, and they were making fun of people that do these type of marathons. And it's a downhill marathon.
It's downhill.
It started at the highest point on the Kank and went all the way into Conway. And it was pretty much although it did have a up and out and back on Bear Notch, which is brutal. Which is no joke, but I did it. But I would say I couldn't have done it without the downhill, but it was 2 weeks ago. I'm still trashed from it.
Oh man.
On the quads. But I did it. And if anybody wants to run a downhill marathon, I mean, go for it, right? I don't know. Anyway, it was cool. Thanks for asking, but I never want to do that again.
Well, congratulations. I hope you get your BQ.
I hope I get which you know now what that is.
Boston qualifier.
You learned on this podcast.
I did. So, thank you.
Yeah.
So this is a podcast where we explore the New England endurance community, and we like to interview organizations that are part of the community and contribute to it in a very meaningful way. And today we have a really special episode, as we are joined here by Scarlett Batchelor from the Appalachian Mountain Club. Woot woot. How's it going, Scarlett?
It's going well. Thanks for having me.
So we've all heard of the AMC, right? It's been around for close to 150 years, started in 1876, and has been the cornerstone of outdoor recreation and conservation in the Northeast.
I think, AMC is iconic, certainly for us who love the outdoors and love the mountains. I'm really interested to dig in here because I don't know that people are associating AMC with endurance, but I think we're going to learn a lot about what they're doing today. Today, AMC is represented by Scarlett Batchelor, the Chief Growth Officer at the AMC, and she's responsible for growing the nonprofits community and unlocking joyful outdoor experiences along the way. Scarlett, welcome to the New England Endurance Podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me today.
It's so good to have Scarlett because she and I go way back. Okay, we didn't even know each other, but we go back to our rowing days at some point on the Charles River. Scarlett's an ex-rower, and she's part of the Keep It Tight cycling community, and she was also involved with the Kit for Kids Bike Day event last couple of years. Thank you for doing that, Scarlett. And so I know her husband as well, Sam, and they both have an extreme love for endurance sports through gravel riding and cross-country skiing and hiking and making maple syrup and rowing. She's got 3 middle schoolers who may be into endurance sports. Not sure. We'll have to find out. But they do stay pretty active. So let's get into it.
I knew I liked her when she walked in, and it must have been the sort of the aura of the ex-rower.
Absolutely.
Because she just looked smarter than most people. So I think inherently we just know that rowers are smarter, faster, better in most ways.
Athletes row, others play games.
Or we're dumb because we just hurt ourselves. But sure, however you want to look at it.
Edit that out. Make a timestamp note on that, Art. So, Scarlett, let's jump right in. Why are we talking about the AMC today? Maybe it's worthwhile to just say start with what is the AMC? What is your role at AMC? And I'll hand it off to you.
Yeah. So Appalachian Mountain Club is a people-oriented conservation organization. So we really connect people and the outdoors. We've been around for almost 150 years. And our reach goes from Maine to Virginia. Today, we have over 90,000 members, and we're really focused on the protection and the enjoyment of the outdoors. So whether it is our Maine Woods Initiative up in Maine, where we've conserved over 114,000 acres, or our work down in the Delaware Water Gap, or anywhere in between, we really are focused on getting people outdoors. And in doing so, we believe the commitment to conservation is deepened by those experiences.
All right. I'm going to start with a silly question.
Yeah.
I bet it's a question that you get all the time. Maybe it's on the FAQs. The question is sparked by that you said your sort of scope of influence is from Maine to Virginia. Is the AT and the AMC intertwined? Do you not maintain the entire Appalachian Trail, or you guys are responsible, or maybe not responsible at all, for the AT from Maine to Virginia?
Yeah, so confusing, right? So we're not the same as the Appalachian Trail, but we do maintain some of the trail. So we maintain or have helped to create over 1,800 miles of trails from Maine to Virginia. So it's not one and the same, but the Appalachian Trail certainly is core to some of our communities and some of our impact.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, I needed to get that cleared up.
We needed to get that cleared up because you asked me before the podcast, and I was like, I don't know. I assume they do it the whole way, but now that's a good clarification. So I assume you work for an organization like this because you share many of their beliefs. Like, I'm curious to hear about your athletic background. Focus a lot on the rowing.
So, my professional career and my personal athletic journey are intertwined in a lot of ways. So professionally, I would say my expertise really falls into 3 buckets. It's sport and outdoor recreation, it's sales and marketing, and it's community building with a focus on belonging. So my personal story does really go back to rowing. I grew up with a shaky childhood and really was feeling a bit lost until I found rowing. I was always athletic in some ways, maybe not so good at the throwing and catching, but boy, did I love the work of it. And then it was really on a lark that I started rowing as a freshman in high school. I rowed at Community Rowing, which now has an enormous boathouse down on the river. But at the time, we were rowing out of the skating rink. And right away...
Much love for the skating rink. So I also rowed out of this, like Boston College, we rode out of the skating rink, the non-climate controlled, open air, exposed, gross bathroom skating rink. But there was something hardcore about it that I think helped shape. We didn't have the posh country club experience that the Tufts rowers had, right? Would you agree, Scarlett, with that? So I would say that's probably why we beat them pretty much all the time. But anyway, we can move on from that. Sorry, Scarlett. You continue.
That skating rink was pretty awesome. I remember painting oars there indoors. But at the end of the day, what rowing there in high school meant to me was being a part of a community, that you would show up every day. My marketing career must have been budding because I made up this tagline, I'll be buff by June. But it was true. It worked. And so it became something that was really meaningful to me. I was recruited to row at the University of Michigan. I got injured after a year, and it was definitely a loss since that had become so much of my identity. So in my personal and professional life, going into adulthood, a lot of my focus has been, how do I recreate an experience like that for myself? Being part of Keep It Tight today is part of that. But also in my professional experience, it has been amazing to get to do that as well. So I spent over 8 years at New Balance. Then I moved into the connected fitness industry, kind of that industry created by Peloton. So for example, I was at Hydro, the connected fitness rower, before moving on to Lightboxer. And then for me, it was very much a moment of introspection about a year ago as I was thinking about my next adventure. And I didn't want to focus as much on making stuff that just could create more waste or promote consumerism. I wanted to really focus my time, my energy, and the skills I've gained over the last 2 decades on building community and making a positive impact to mitigate climate change. So it really was quite the match as I landed in this chief growth officer role at the Appalachian Mountain Club.
That's a really thoughtful career journey there. I don't know many folks who kind of think of their career, while they're in it and align with their passion. So
and to have the guts to do it,
yeah.
Right? It takes gut. Can I just ask a follow-up question here? So chief growth officer, right? And typically a chief growth officer at a nonprofit, a for-profit company is focused on revenue, right? At the end of the day. Does your growth initiative focus also obviously on raising money for AMC, but is it growing the community, growing the events? Like where does your growth focus?
Ultimately, it's about expanding AMC's membership. So as I said today, we have 90,000 members. Our goal is to double that membership by 2030, with our 150th anniversary in 2026 being a key date for that. So it's about community expansion. And then I am also responsible for earned revenue. So my colleague who lives here in Arlington, Jennifer Norris, is our chief development officer, but I'm responsible for books, maps, merchandise, and membership. And then I have a colleague who runs our lodging as well. So it kind of sits in the middle. Ultimately, I'm responsible for 3 groups: marketing communications, on-trail programming, kind of designing what those adventures look like, and then that earned revenue side of the business. So I am able to bring a lot of the skills that I've gained in the for-profit world, but ultimately my job is to deepen and expand our community connections.
That's fantastic. So I grew up in New Hampshire, as did Eric, and I've always thought of AMC as a group who maintains trails, and they maintain the hut system, and they help protect the land and the environment. Do I have this right? And what else makes AMC so awesome?
You do have that right. So as I said before, we've created and maintained over 1,800 miles of trails. So it's about recreation, but it's also about advocacy. So with this membership base of 90,000 members, we really are able to push for what is right in that overlap of people and the outdoors. So close to home, what that means is that we had a big role in the Bay Circuit Trail and the Mid-State Trail and the New England National Scenic Trail. And then yesterday, I was running in the Fells close by, and that is also a place where AMC, in our history, helped to establish those trails, along with helping with the White Mountain National Forest.
I didn't realize that they were part of the Fells.
And the Delaware Water Gap. Yeah, we helped to orchestrate and establish the Fells.
Oh, okay, so we got to go back here for a second, because we've mentioned out of those first 3 that you talked about, we've actually mentioned each of those on this podcast.
Yes.
Bay Circuit Trail. We just learned about Mid-State from one of our most recent podcasts, the Mid-State Trail. But what was the New England Scenic
New
Trail?
England National Scenic Trail.
So what is that? I've never heard of that.
It's one of many trails here in the region. And ultimately, especially these days, as we look to grow our community, it's not just about being up in the Whites,
right,
or, in the Maine woods, which is incredible, but frankly, quite remote. But it's also about being closer to urban centers as well. So for example, one of our key lodges is at the Corman-Harriman Outdoor Center, which is just 45 minutes from Manhattan. So it really is a range of places where we show up as AMC.
Because I actually want to sort of just dive in there a little bit more. Things like the Bay Circuit Trail, I don't think a lot of people know about it. And the fact that you can go from, right, like the North Shore, circumvent Boston, and finish on the South Shore by this close to urban area connected trail system that is marked. It's mind-blowing that people don't realize that exists. So I really appreciate what you're saying about these kind of trails versus just heading up to the mountains and hiking on the classics?
Yeah, so we're doing a lot of work these days with the Outdoor Industry Association and specifically Kelly Davis, who leads their research. Because as we seek to double our membership, love you guys, here you, me, all of us are ready to hammer on our bikes for a couple hours. But that's not how people start. We've been talking to Kelly a lot about kind of our entry group, which we call chill casual. So to that point, places like the Bay Circuit Trail are really important, right? Really thinking about how do people recreate these days, whether they're conservation curious in one bucket or chill casual in another bucket.
What would you call the bucket that Eric and I are in?
You're wondering if there's an FKT on the Bay Circuit Trail right now. He's looking it up on his phone, literally, as we talk.
I call you guys core outdoor, but what I would like you to be is concerned core outdoor. And maybe you are already, but when it comes to being able to have experiences like the ones we have next year, 10 years from now, and in our kids' generations, we really need to be mindful about conservation and protection. So I don't know if you're concerned core outdoor yet.
But that leads into literally the next question I have for you is, why should we then join the AMC?
So there are a couple benefits. Some are basic, like you'll get 20% off of lodging. So whether you're at the Highlands Center in Crawford Notch, where I'm going early tomorrow morning for wilderness first aid training, or the Joe Dodge Lodge at Pinkham Notch, or Metawissawa Lodge up in our Maine woods, or the Corman Harriman Outdoor Center down in New York, you get 20% off of that.
And by the way, it's very well communicated. So I was actually I'm trying to do a hut-to-hut this summer, and it's like regular price, AMC price, and I'm a card carrying member at AMC. So, but I really like that. You can really see it's a good that's a good marketing position right there to sort of say basically, because what's the membership? What does a membership cost?
It's $50 for an individual, $75 for a family. So it's very reasonable.
2 nights, you save the money, right? Like, I mean, it's cost benefit positive for if you stay for 2 nights at any hut. Maybe 1 night. I don't even know. Like, I would have to look back and see, but it was pretty good.
Yeah, there's a lot of value there, and that's, a rational benefit, I would say. But then there's also an emotional benefit, right? As I talk about our ability to drive policy, right now we're working hard on the Explore Act, which is in Congress right now. So that's all about improving access and infrastructure for education, creating new long-distance bicycling trails, and then ensuring funding for trails and open space in urban areas. So yes, Eric, you'll get that 20% off of the huts. But what our teams are also working on is ensuring that, it's visible and you're knowledgeable that by being a member, you're able to, one, enroll in our Conservation Action Network, but also understand that your membership increases our ability to drive policy conversations to really ensure this outdoor recreation for many generations to come.
With regards to the policy, you just mentioned educational. What did you mean by that? And is there anything around educating endurance athletes to get out there more? Or like, what's the education piece?
Yeah, well, a lot of the education has to do with kind of this on-trail education. One of my favorite programs this time of year, and if you go up to the huts this summer, we're a part of the iNaturalist app where you're able to observe flora and fauna. And by collecting that data, it helps scientists to understand the shifts in climate impact and proactively address changes. Kind of the counterpoint to that is we participate in the Snow Obs app. So we encourage our members to take snow measurements throughout the season. Same thing, that feeds back to a team of scientists who are really able to think about the impact of changes in snow mass year on year.
But Art, to what you were just saying, I just wonder if it's also a lot of the things that the AMC helps maintain are good for endurance sports. Because I don't know that that's what you often connect it to, right? So I think maybe that's the communication is to say, hey, by the way, you should join the AMC because you can endurance on a lot of the things that we're maintaining. It's not just super gnarly white mountain traverses.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about the Maine Woods? Because there is an incredible endurance opportunity that we just were able to work with our partners to open up this year.
Yeah, let's go.
All right. So a week ago, we launched our AMC Maine Woods Gravel Adventure Field Guide. So creating this field guide was a 3-way partnership with Appalachian Mountain Club, the Maine Office of Outdoor Recreation, and AMC. And essentially what we did was across our 114,000 acres up in the Maine Woods, the 100-mile wilderness, we worked with partners and landowners to open up 330 miles of gravel cycling trails. And these are areas that were previously inaccessible. So you can check it.
Inaccessible to cyclists or inaccessible?
Inaccessible to cyclists.
Okay.
So landowners really didn't want cyclists on their land. And part of our innovative land management philosophy, it's very community oriented. So when it comes to conservation, we don't want to just wall off an area and say no humans here. We really like to think of it from a cohesive land management perspective, inclusive of the community. So we promote responsible forestry. We work with the forestry companies in the area. We have an education program with Piscataquis County schools up there. So we worked with our partners in the Maine Woods to open up these trails. So if you go to Ride with GPS, we've got 10 sets of routes up there. Stephen and Juan at Gravel Adventure Field Guide worked with us to put these routes together.
How do we search for those and Ride with GPS?
I think if you just look up Appalachian Mountain Club Maine Woods, you can also go to outdoors.org, which is Appalachian Mountain Club's website, and go to the Destinations Maine tab, and you can find more about it.
Nice. And are these trails, are they old logging roads? Are they gnarly single track? Are they, is it more mixed terrain or is it more gravel? I'm just curious what this is like up there.
It's mixed terrain. It's a lot of old logging roads. I haven't gotten to cycle it yet, but I did ski lodge to lodge up in many of these same trails this winter. So when we think about the Maine Woods, we know you need a reason to go up there. So in the winter for many years, we maintain some incredibly well-groomed trails. We have 3 lodges up there. So this winter I skied from Gorman Chairback to Little Lyford to Metawisla, and it was just incredible. So we use a lot of those same trails within the gravel cycling opportunities as well.
I got an idea. So
what's that?
Crazy idea. I like to, give ideas when nobody's asking for them. So this is my idea. But we had a great podcast with a wonderful couple that run an enduro gravel event called the Ranger. And what it feels like is a lot of the things that they were talking about are the same that you're talking about, right? That their whole event was around land stewardship, preservation, things like that. I just wonder if AMC could talk to all of these gravel events and have membership be part of their checkout, right? Like buying a pint glass, buying the t-shirt. Hey, by the way, AMC's doing this incredible work for the gravel community. Click here, $50, add it to your registration. I don't know. I'm just trying to think
Do I have to pay you a commission for that idea after?
But I just,
yeah.
What you're talking about and what they were talking about seem very aligned. And I didn't have that, I would say, understanding of that AMC was really working on that, especially towards the gravel community. So it just feels like there's an opportunity there to be adjacent to a lot of these really amazing gravel races, which I do think all like D2R2, it's all about land preservation. So anyway.
I love it. And Rachel Cohen is a friend. I was just listening to your episode with Rachel and Tyler on my way over. So Rachel's a good friend. I've raced the Ranger before myself. It is just incredible. Nice. We have a house close by Tunbridge, and the work they're doing for the community and really thinking about community impact is huge. And I do know that oftentimes these races, they descend out of nowhere. My understanding is sometimes landowners aren't told about it, which it's a lot to think about, right? And that is why, as the AMC, we've invested in these landowner and community relationships for a really long time. And it puts us in a nice place, similar to Rachel and Tyler, to be able to really put on a comprehensive and community engaging type of event.
So, Eric, I'm holding a physical copy of the Gravel Adventure Field Guide.
We can do what is it, ASMR?
There it is. And I flipped to a very interesting route called the Tour de AMC. It's 111 miles that starts in Brownville Junction and ends up going up by Moosehead Lake. We got to hit this. This looks pretty good.
These look awesome. I'm wondering, is it like, can you connect them all in one epic route? Probably not. Well, I guess you would have. There's some
I
roads.
challenge you to
There's some
do
roads
that.
involved, but this is one. It's a super cool little book.
How do we get this book?
You can go to outdoors.org and go to our store and order one. Also, they're at many, many cycling shops around. So Juan, when it launched, did a tour. I know we just dropped off some new ones at Landry's in Charlestown last week. People have been running out of them.
No, and Art, to your point, ride with GPS routes on all the pages.
Here we go.
So it's all here. This is unbelievable.
Isn't that wild?
I like the size of this too because I can put it in my jersey pocket. So
Yeah, and
well done.
we're having a
Nice
gravel
work.
festival September 6th to 8th. If you guys want to come up, meet us.
Where's this?
Based out of our Metawisla Lodge. So that is our largest lodge in the Maine woods.
And how many hours is that from Boston?
It's about 6.5 hours from Boston. It's not close.
Make a weekend out of it?
Make a weekend out of it. And you, Eric, you were saying you can link the routes. We ask that you don't go off route since
Right.
our landowners have been really generous about opening up these trails. But it is pretty amazing in terms of how far you can go and how remote it is. I personally, when I ski up there, I bring Garmin InReach with me. It's not quite typical, so bring plenty of tubes, maybe bring an InReach if you've got it. But if you stay at one of our lodges, our lodge staff, you tell them where you're going for the day, similar to what you would do at a hut in the White Mountains.
What is this Garmin InReach? I don't think I've heard of this.
It's one of the, you could have one more Garmin product, Art. Are you a Garmin guy?
I am a Garmin
Yeah,
guy.
I'm wearing a Phoenix right now. So an InReach, essentially, it's like a mini sat phone or something. So you've got your contacts in there. You can send short messages.
Okay.
If ultimately there's an issue, you
So
can
no
get in
cell
touch
phone
with.
coverage.
Very limited cell phone coverage. But if you want to get away, that's how you get away.
So I'm looking at a couple of these routes, and they indicate when there's a hut. It looks like there's because they don't all have huts, correct? Or
Correct.
Yeah.
So we have 3 lodges up in the Maine woods.
okay, and am I correct? And I've just started looking at this now that the routes typically start and finish where there is a lodge, right? So it's
Yeah.
not parking lot, ride in, stay overnight, ride back. It's more get to the lodge, maybe camp there or stay at the lodge, do your route and come back to the lodge.
Yeah,
Something like that, just understanding correctly. Yeah.
That's generally what we recommend. And our main lodges are pretty incredible, similar to our lodges in the Whites or our lodges in Harriman. You know, we're going to feed you. We've got a fantastic crew that's knowledgeable of the area. So I highly recommend setting yourself up to stay at one of our lodges and to use that as a base camp for your travels, for your adventures.
I'm sort of distracted from the podcast right now because I'm just looking through this.
Isn't it
book.
incredibly
I'm
cool?
Really, I am genuinely blown away by this. I think other people need to see it or feel this sort of book in their hand. And
We'll
see
post. Can we
the
post a photo of this on the
see
internet?
Please.
see the opportunities
Absolutely.
that are up there. That's incredible work that you and the team have done to put this together.
Thank you.
What other new things are in store for AMC?
We're really focusing on meeting our members and people where they are. So whether it's, jumping in on Trails Fest in Worcester on June 1st, just to get a taste of what AMC is. And, when it comes to talking about this policy work we do, I think traditionally AMC, we've been very, very humble. We're a great partner. We work across initiatives and across organizations. I'm here to talk about AMC itself because ultimately we want more members. We want to be able to impact that overlap of recreation and conservation. But a lot of our work is partnership based.
So I'm going to ask you about partnerships in a second, but I do like the fact that we're talking about Trailfest in Worcester, right? Everything isn't only about the Green Mountains, the White Mountains, up in northern Maine. You're talking about a lot of AMC impact in the heart of New England, not in the extremities.
Absolutely. And that's why something like the Bay Circuit Trail is so important. And in fact, we work with LL Bean. Just a couple years ago, we established our Outdoor Journey Fund. So we want to make sure that groups who might not have access to our facilities and programs are able to get out, right? To start from that chill casual or, generally concerned group, and to really have that ladder to the outdoors and dig in more deeply from there. So our Outdoor Journey Fund has been really big in our ability to bring more groups outside, whether it's a group that's visually impaired or a group of veterans or a group of aspiring climbers who haven't been out before. That's where we're really excited about work like our Outdoor Journey Fund or expanding our gear libraries to really open up access to the outdoors, really foster that equity.
Can you highlight, my next question was really about partnerships and collaborations. Can you maybe touch on one or two of those in a little bit more detail that you think the audience would be interested in?
Yeah, I think LL Bean is really a key partnership, and it has been for a long time. LL Bean also has deep commitments in Maine, but most importantly, they really are focused in bringing about the restorative power of the outdoors to their customers and to their communities. And that really is a natural overlap with Appalachian Mountain Club, as we are that people-oriented conservation organization. So we try to focus on key initiatives with partners. So LL Bean, that Outdoor Journey Fund, is really significant. Or, for example, Gravel Adventure Field Guide, working with the Maine Office of Outdoor Recreation, as well as the Maine Office of Tourism, along with Gravel Adventure Field Guide, and even Bissell Brothers Brewery hosted us for their launch party last week.
Oh, love me some Bissell Brothers.
Oh,
do you know it? I've never heard of it. So
yeah, it's a fantastic brewery just outside of Portland, right? Or in Portland.
It's in Portland, but their second location is in Milo, which is close to Brownville, which is a southern entrance to the 100 Mile Woods for AMC. So if you want to combine your gravel cycling with beer, you can start in Milo and then go up into the woods from there.
Okay, burning question. This is a hard one. Is AMC more closely associated with beer or coffee? Only because, we've been talking a lot of cyclists who traditionally have been very focused on coffee, runners almost exclusively beer. Now gravel is leaning beer. What would you say here? And this is, I'm putting you to bed.
No. I have a key answer here.
Oh, do you guys like beer at the nonprofit? But I think people want to know.
So we like beer. We like Bissell Brothers. We like Allagash, who has always been a key partner and is partnering with us on our main festivals. But one interesting participation metric. So in 2023, I believe 57.3% of Americans recreated outdoors.
Okay.
I think the coffee metric was in the mid 60s, like 65% of Americans drank coffee. I don't know how many people drink coffee and recreate outdoors, but my dream is by the time we've doubled our membership at AMC, more people recreate outdoors than drink coffee. So we're coming at you.
That's
coffee.
I like that. I like that KPI.
You like that?
I do. I genuinely.
I'm competitive.
I like the KPIs. And,
all right.
Remember, no acronyms. So KPI is
key performance indicator. So
key performance indicator.
Beer, coffee, outdoors. I think they're all associated on some level.
Yeah. And you know what? If I'm being really dorky, I think there's a mindfulness aspect to all of it, right? When we think about that restorative power of the outdoors.
The restorative power of the outdoors, that's a fantastic concept. And that's how you can get more members to get involved. And how would you spread that message? Did you mention that's LL Bean's message, or is that also the AMC's?
Yeah, I mean, it's both. And that's why LL Bean is such a great partner. You know, the language is a little bit different, but ultimately
Same
the
concept.
spirit of it is the same concept. So if we're going on the like nerdy side, when I think about marketing and community building, I always think about it as a funnel, right? You got to drive awareness and then consideration and then ultimately convert, right? Somebody's going to buy a membership. They're going to recreate with us. So a lot of my focus and my role is thinking of that top of funnel, right? How do you drive more awareness of AMC and what we do? And, you know, you hit the nail on the head. A lot of that work is through partners. We're a nonprofit, right? We're not going to, you know, be putting on Super Bowl ads, but we can lean on our partners who have similar ideals to really get the word out and to increase that participation and to go after coffee together.
That's the way to do it.
I like going after coffee. That's awesome. So, you must get exposed to some really cool experiences or see people experience things for the first time as part of AMC. Do you have any memorable experiences that you might have been witness to that, you know, some, like you just mentioned, visually impaired people climbing or what have you. So just looking for a little bit of inspiration on some of the things AMC does that you might have seen with your own eyes.
Yeah, I love it. Well, I do have to say I'm a newbie, right? So I'm 6 or 8 months into this adventure. But I do think what's amazing, and I would imagine you all experience this, whether it's getting your BQ the other week, is kind of this arc of kind of being exposed to something, not being sure if you can do it. And then ultimately you push through and you have that experience and you have that connection and the belonging. So I personally did get to do a lodge to lodge ski trip in the Maine woods this winter with a number of our longstanding AMC members. And I have to tell you, I'm afraid of the cold. So it was a 5-day trip. I've Nordic skied for a long time. I skate ski more than I classic. But there was one day where the temperature was predicted to be so cold, and sure, I'm physically fit, but I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to do it. And ultimately going out there and sliding along and getting through it and leaning on the guides that AMC provides, right? That they're going to make sure that I'm going to be okay through this experience. It was just incredible. And I just ran into, at our launch party last week, one of the other trip members, Eliza, and you know, you're forever bonded. So whether it's bringing in groups from the Outdoor Journey Fund or members or other constituents, whether it is a nature walk around the Highland Center or a hike at Corman Harriman, I think there is something to this arc of experience from not being sure to having that experience together and then deepening that connection through that sense of belonging. I think that's why I do it.
All right. I'm not going to ask you to tell us which one is your favorite kid. And I know you have a favorite. We all do, but that's fine. So what's your favorite hut?
I haven't been yet.
You got to choose one that you've been to.
I told you. So I am doing the presidential range from August 4th to 8th. As of right now, there's one more spot, and I am doing it with the AMC guides.
So if we have cyclists or runners listening to this podcast and they want to go out and do an adventure, let's say do a winter hike, does the AMC offer programs where they could sort of show folks the ropes on how to do a winter hike properly or join them for a class?
Absolutely. Yeah. And for that reason, you know, Sam, my husband, and I were supposed to go to Zealand this winter, but ultimately we decided together, we just weren't trained for it. So AMC does have guides and guided programs. So when it comes to being ready for being out there, if you stay at our Highland Center, we have a gear library. And everything is free if you're a guest. So I'm going up early tomorrow morning. I'm going to be up there for 2 days. I always lean on the gear library. So I borrowed winter boots. It's a LL Bean sponsored gear library. There are backpacks. There's traction if you need it. I'm still bringing micro spikes. I don't know what it's going to look like tomorrow.
Yeah, probably a good idea.
So yeah, I mean, I would highly recommend going on one of our guided trips because ultimately it is about expanding access and deepening those connections so that our guides and educators and naturalists are second to none.
But are we saying, so it's controversial, are we saying that hiking is an endurance sport, Art, or are we?
Absolutely.
Okay. So I think that's just fair from that definition. But to be clear, those guides are going to be taking the folks with them on a normalized speed approach to this, right? Is that fair to say?
What does normalized speed mean?
Though, I mean, I think I would challenge you a little bit here
Yeah.
because ultimately, if this is about expanding access and participation, and if you go and talk to Kelly Davis at the Outdoor Industry Association, that hyper engaged, I mean, we're always going to be there, right? But to have more of us, I think it's about those entry points and bringing people in. So yes, my guess is, if you're a Boston Marathon qualifier, you might want to go faster.
But I guess what I'm saying is, I believe that and I think you're 100% correct to be focused on the entry point. But there are also a lot of folks that one of the reasons we started this is people want to learn about backcountry skiing. They want to get into cross-country skiing. They wanted to get into bike packing.
Or winter hiking.
Hiking. So what I'm almost implying is there's the entry point, but then there's also the, hey, you want to go do a presidential in one day? We can help you do that as well. So that's more what I was saying, not trying to be an endurance snob in that way, but more so, hey, for those folks that are on the keep it tight team that are fit, that are ready to go and are looking to bite off a little bit more.
Yeah.
Maybe not today, but at some point, AMC is going to offer that resource.
Yeah. And I would say two things. One, risk management is big. So if you want to know about what it's like to carry an inReach and have your core 10 things in your backpack, so you should always have a headlamp, even if you're if you're hiking for the day, that's there. But I did want to mention,
I always carry a space blanket.
There you go.
100%
exactly.
of the time. Yeah.
And I also heard, those parachutes that used to go under in elementary school?
Yes.
You lift them up, they're rainbow colored. I heard recently that's really great to carry in case you get stuck for a while. Huh. But that's like an advanced tip.
All right.
But when it comes to backcountry skiing, I went to a Scutney this winter with the Boston Ski and Ride Committee of the Appalachian Mountain Club, and I learned more about backcountry skiing. So I've been backcountry skiing myself uphill for a couple years now, but to just talk about, some safety and also to meet more people who do it, it's a pretty great way to expand your community too.
So AMC then in this case can provide for those looking for a little bit more. They can provide the baseline education and then hopefully send you on your way in a more safer, prepared experience.
Exactly. And we do have 11 chapters. So next winter, I'm going to participate in the winter hiking series with the New Hampshire chapter. So next year, I'll know what I'm doing and I'll be ready to go up to Zealand and other huts once that snow comes.
What's up with that series? Is that a multi-day, multi-week program?
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that just a little bit?
Yeah. Well, I mean, what's really wild is not only do we have 90,000 members, but we have 11 chapters at Appalachian Mountain Club. So whether it's a Worcester chapter or the New Hampshire chapter or the Maine chapter, it's not just staff putting on this programming, but it's our chapter-based volunteers as well. So New Hampshire does an incredible backcountry skiing series and a winter hiking series. Down in New York, New Jersey, they're the ones putting on that picnic. Sorry, that's not New England. I'm sorry.
It's fair. I'm going to give them a pass because they're volunteers for AMC.
There you go. There you go. And the main chapter, we're going to be doing a ride up there in late July just to train our main chapter leaders on the trails up in the Maine woods. So we're all ready to bring in more groups and get more exposure.
That's cool. So you've done a bunch of endurance sports over the course of this podcast. We've heard you're into backcountry skiing, cross-country skiing, rowing and cycling and probably more. What is your favorite, outside of AMC, what's your favorite endurance event in New England? We like to ask folks that question just to kind of learn about hidden gems.
I like it. Well, every summer I've got a goal. This summer, Sam and I are going to do the Dirty Project, which is 84 miles of gravel in Vermont's Upper Valley. So that's kind of what I'm training for right now. The Dirty
Project.
Yes. So it is the gravel equivalent of the Dirty Prouty, which is a road ride.
The Prouty.
Yep. So that's my goal this summer. But, you know, I've done the Ranger, I've done Overland. Most of my gravel cycling is in Vermont's Upper Valley, and I love it. I love going really fast.
Climbing the
downhill.
hills.
Yeah, I like going down the most on class 4.
Same
That's
here.
where my QOMs are.
Oh,
But-
downhill QOM.
Yeah.
QOM, Queen of the Mountain, through Strava. Thank you for mentioning that. We like to mention things around Strava and putting the hammer down on this podcast on occasion.
I've met some of my best friends on Strava.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because you just track the leaderboard and you're like, oh, I mean, there are not that many women cycling, at least in Vermont's Upper Valley. They're not that many of us. So you can stalk them and then maybe you can make friends with them.
That's awesome.
I like it. There is a guy that always takes my local legends that I see around, and I haven't reached out to him yet, but
Maybe you should, Eric.
maybe I should. I like give him the olive branch, or something like that.
Now that you can message on Strava, it's a little less sketchy. When my friend Katie Novak and I first started cycling together, because we're Strava friends, you're commenting on their workout. You're like,
Right.
hey, this might sound a little weird, but do you want to meet up next week in a public place?
Was it a joke though that there was like a adjacent Strava dating app? Was that a joke that I heard about? Or?
I've never heard of that.
I think it was actually on that Between Two Pines. If people haven't listened to that podcast,
I have a couple of friends who could use that
it's
Strava
really
dating
funny.
app.
But
Yeah.
or they also used Ultra Sign Up as a dating app too. But based on how many DNFs and things you have listed on
my.
Ultra Sign Up, so there's a lot of that.
I like it.
Very bad humor. All right, last question. You've lived and I assume traveled all over the world. You've got a great perspective here. You've certainly traveled a tremendous amount here within New England. Tell us why you agree with the statement that New England is the greatest region of the country for the endurance community.
Everything is close by. So we just talked about the Maine woods. That's 6.5 hours. That seems like a lot, but it's really not that
Seems
far.
like a lot to us in New England.
Yeah, but
In
everything's
somebody
close.
in Texas, that's
Right?
that's around the corner.
So I can tell you it's proven on my bike. So many years ago, my husband Sam and I, along with 4 or 5 other friends, biked from Seattle to Boston. So we've seen it all along the northern tier and a little bit of Canada. My friend Megan really wanted to go into Canada, so we went north of the Rockies. But it all takes time. Here in New England, you can get to incredible mountainscapes and seascapes within a short drive and make it back to your house, maybe by late evening if you're making it a long day. And our community is just so energized. Everyone is positive. They're ready to bring others into this community.
They wave when they're running and cycling.
Yeah, they do wave. I always say hi.
Good. We're very big
You're a wave.
proponents of that and very frustrated when people don't wave.
Yeah, maybe some people are having a bad day.
Hikers are really, hiking, I think it's a 98% wave.
Hey, how
right?
you
For
doing?
sure.
How you doing?
Yeah.
Nice dog.
Yeah.
Am I almost at the top?
When I first started racing cyclocross, I remember turning around and wanting to be like, you like bikes? I like bikes. This is awesome. Let's go do this together. It's fun to win too, but I like hanging out with people.
Is there anything else you'd like to mention on the podcast about AMC or yourself or any other endeavors you're involved with that the audience should know about?
I would love to have everyone go to outdoors.org, sign up to be a member. I hope you're convinced today
Totally
that
convinced.
through the
Totally.
recreation
Yeah.
and the conservation work, that it's a worthwhile thing. And yeah, come join me. Reach out if you want to go for a ride, a run, a very slow run, or join us up in Maine or down here in Massachusetts. I want to check out the Bay Circuit Trail. So if anybody else wants to explore it with me, let me know.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Scarlett Batchelor from the AMC. Thank you for being on the New England Endurance Podcast and sharing this amazing story about AMC. It's an incredible nonprofit, and I think we're really lucky to have an organization like this in the Northeast. So thank you so much. It's been awesome having you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and we'd like to say thanks to all our sponsors who help power this podcast. First will be Lark Fine Foods, which is a 100% woman-owned specialty food company baking delicious small batch cookies inspired by grown-ups, consumers with sophisticated taste. People love cookies on the trail. I mean, there's nothing like a sweet treat.
And off the trail.
Sweet treat. And in fact, I just got an urgent text. This is going to be up in June here. 20% off if you use the code ENDURANCEDAD, because dads love cookies.
Oh, from time for Father's Day.
In time for Father's Day. So use the code ENDURANCEDAD for 20% off at Lark Fine Foods. Also want to say a big shout out to our sponsor, The Everyday Athlete, a book about balancing work, family, and fitness. One of those things would be going for a hike with your family, staying at a lodge. That will bring a family together for sure. And then Kinetic, experience the brain-boosting benefits of ketones on demand that taste great at drinkkinetic.com. And that's Kinetic, Kenetik. For those that want to learn more about the AMC, go to outdoors.org, and we will tag them. We will tag everybody. We'll try to tag a bunch of these cool races that we learned about. We'll take a picture of the Gravel Adventure Field Guide, and you can find that all on our Instagram page at New England Endurance.
Excellent. Until next time, get out there, rain or shine, drop some hammers, and enjoy the beautiful terrain of New England.